I'm Bert, his personal avatar. As the real Bert is too busy, he asked me to be the presenter for today. Welcome to the channel Global Crypto AI Pulse. Today we're diving into a pivotal moment for digital assets, the Clarity Act. The Clarity for Stablecoins Act is the centerpiece of the current regulatory push in Washington. But what exactly is at stake? Its goal is simple: to establish a federal framework for payment stablecoins, bringing them out of the legal shadows. However, a significant roadblock has emerged: the heated disagreement over stablecoin yields. At the heart of the conflict is whether stablecoin issuers can pass on interest yields to their users. Regulators fear this makes stablecoins look too much like securities, while the industry argues it's essential for competition. This disagreement has created a legislative stalemate that threatens the entire Act's progress. Without a resolution on yield, the Act remains in limbo, leaving investors and developers in a state of uncertainty. So, what are the next steps? The focus now shifts back to the House Financial Services Committee. Leaders from both parties are attempting to hammer out a compromise that addresses both yield and reserve requirements. Revised drafts are circulating, but the clock is ticking loudly against a crowded legislative calendar. The goal is to get the bill to the floor before the summer recess, a window that is rapidly closing. This brings us to the most critical aspect of the current situation: the now or never timeline. Why is it now or never? Because the window for major legislation effectively closes as we head into the election cycle. Historically, as the presidential election nears, the appetite for complex financial regulation evaporates in DC. If the Clarity Act doesn't pass by this fall, it could be delayed until 2025 or even 2026 under a new Congress. The opportunity cost of this delay is massive, as other jurisdictions like Europe move forward with their own rules. So why does all of this matter to you in the broader crypto market? It's about stability and scale. Federal clarity would likely unlock a wave of institutional capital that is currently sitting on the sidelines. It's also about maintaining American leadership in the digital dollar race, which is currently at risk. The stakes involve not just the future of stablecoins, but the very infrastructure of the modern financial system. A critical but overlooked point is interoperability. The Act defines how these assets interact with the existing banking core. Section 4 calls for unprecedented reserve transparency. Issuers must disclose exact holdings, from treasuries to cash equivalents, weekly. This isn't just paperwork. The Act grants the Fed direct enforcement power to shut down non-compliant issuers in real time. The bottom line: the next 90 days will determine if the US remains the center of the global financial map or falls behind permanently. Bitcoin's price is no longer driven by retail sentiment alone. Today, spot ETFs have emerged as the single most powerful force in the market. Since their launch, these instruments have absorbed hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, fundamentally altering the supply and demand equilibrium. But who are the titans behind this shift? The list is dominated by the world's largest asset managers, with BlackRock and Fidelity leading the charge. BlackRock's IBIT has become the fastest growing ETF in history, reaching tens of billions in assets faster than any traditional financial product. Fidelity's FBTC follows closely, while other players like ARK Invest and Bitwise have secured significant portions of the institutional pie. These big players now hold more collective Bitcoin than many major exchanges, giving them unprecedented influence over global price discovery. This institutionalization is beginning to dampen Bitcoin's legendary volatility, replacing sharp retail spikes with more predictable, ledger-driven movements. So, what does this look like on a 2-year time frame? We are entering a phase of deep market maturation. Within 12 months, we expect the focus to shift from spot ETFs to corporate treasury integration, as the product becomes a standard balance sheet asset. This leads to a massive expansion of liquidity, allowing much larger players, like sovereign wealth funds, to enter the space without destabilizing price. By the second year, the regulatory environment is projected to stabilize, providing the legal certainty required for full-scale pension fund participation. At the 24-month milestone, the transition is complete. Bitcoin moves from a speculative asset to a core pillar of the institutional financial system. Stability becomes the new narrative. While the upside remains significant, the boom and bust cycles of the past may be permanently replaced by steady institutional growth. The impact extends globally. As US ETFs lead the way, They set the standard for digital reserve assets in every major financial jurisdiction. We are seeing the architectural integration of Bitcoin into the legacy banking core, made possible by the simplified access these ETFs provide. The risk profile changes. Investors are no longer just betting on a technology, but on the continued expansion of institutional financial infrastructure. Projections suggest that collective AUM could reach into the hundreds of billions, potentially even the first trillion, within this 2-year window. This is the new standard. The era of Bitcoin being an isolated digital experiment has ended. The era of Bitcoin as an institutional ledger has begun. The decisions made by BlackRock and Fidelity today are laying the tracks for the next decade of market behavior. The ETF is the vehicle for that future. The transition is undeniable. The market has moved, the players are set, and the 2-year horizon is now within view. Thank you for joining this deep dive on Global Crypto AI Pulse. Stay informed as we track the institutional evolution of Bitcoin.